Good morning, church. And you're welcome to our day. Someone said that Father's Day is the day that men pay for their celebration. Somehow we have to still pay. But it's also a labor of love. And I'd like to start by talking about love. Boys to men, of course, you know what it means. The transitions from being a boy to becoming a man. But for those of us who are not so young, it's also the name of a very famous music group, Boys to Men, which was set up in 1988 in Philadelphia. And there were four of them, and they were fantastic singers. They were known for their emotional ballads. They sold 60 million records worldwide, and they actually combined the strengths of the old Motown and then the 80s R&B and all that, and they were very famous. They had many number one singles. One of them was End of the Road. The other one was I'll Make Love to You. And so they were very famous, and it's a coincidence that today our theme is Boys to Men, and there was a group called Boys to Men. And I'm just being a daddy by boring you with some information. But let me also say this. It's also relevant, in the sense that love songs don't only come in the form of emotional ballads. Sometimes they come in the form of advice from older men to younger men. And the Bible is full of that. Moses to Joshua, Paul to Timothy, and so many other examples, And men are not as expressive as women are. Sometimes the best way we can express our love for younger men, our sons, our nephews, boys in the neighborhood that might need help, is to just give them advice. So this is actually ultimately about the love that men have between themselves. And that's what this session is about. So it's still Boys to Men, and it's still about love. It's just that this time the love is being expressed in the form of older men, more mature men, experienced men, providing counsel for younger men. So welcome to this session. The introductions have been made, and we'll just go straight into the session. And I think I'll start with Brother Okay, one of my favorite people in the church. He's not just armed with a baritone. He's the ultimate man, but he's also the father of two sons. So when did you realize that your boys were no longer just boys?
That's a tough one. Good morning, everyone. When did I realize my boys were no longer just boys?
That they are now all men as well. I'll get in there.
I think it was more of the manifestation of emotional maturity in them. Their conversations became more mature. Of course, there's the physical changes in their bodies as well. I have a tradition of when my sons turn 15, they're about 14, 15, I take them aside and explain to them the changes happening in their bodies, the emotional state as well, their relationships with the opposite sex, with the ladies, and I teach them, what I think they need to know.
What was your inspiration for that?
Say again?
What was your inspiration for that, for that tradition?
I think it was basically, I remember what I went through when I was their age. The dynamics have changed and everything, but I had a support system. My father, my late father, was a pediatrician. He was a children's doctor, so we were very close, and he could relate to a lot of things that I was going through and explain them to me in a manner that I could easily understand. And I think that's just a tradition that has been passed down. I try to do the same with my sons and with a couple of other younger men that I mentor. that come my way.
Okay. Thank you so much. And my younger brothers here, I hope you know you have as much right to be here as the rest of us, because we're not more important, because we have to leave this world to you. So it can be confusing sometimes being a young man who is still in some ways a boy. What would you say is the most difficult part of that process?
Good morning, church. One of the most difficult parts of the process is figuring things out for me, knowing what to do, because you're just coming up, you're just growing, you don't even know what to expect. There are different things, you're seeing different things every day with people, your characters. You don't know how to, there are some things that are wrong, but the way society carry it, the way other people carry it, they carry it in a way that you think is right. Trying to balance everything, trying to know, apart from, okay, the commandments, do not steal, do not lie, this, that, there are some things, that there are some morals, especially this our Gen Z generation. There are things that this our Gen Z generation is not clear at all. At all. Even as a Gen Z, I'm saying it.
Yes.
And I'm not just a Gen Z, I'm a Christian Gen Z. So there are things that the world has put in place that is not right. And we struggle every day to balance it. And these things are the things that people are doing on a daily. Other teenagers, other young adults are doing. We struggle not to be part of that community doing what they do. So there's sometimes you feel tempted, because when you don't do it, when you don't follow them, they say you are a Jew. You're a Jew guy. You don't know anything. You don't know what's up.
Yes.
Things like that.
Can you be a little more specific about the particular challenges you're talking about? I have an idea, but tell them.
One of the challenges is this following, like having girlfriends at a very young age. If you don't have a girlfriend, like bro, what you they do? You know, get babe. You're not looking at a female in that way, the way they are looking at a female. You're not looking at them that way. You're showing that there are some boys that when they see a lady, all they think about right now is sex. You trying to stay away from things like that, with even the way, like I said, this Gen Z generation, even some ladies are not, that they are not doing it at all. They are not trying.
Thank you.
Because the way they dress, the temptation, everything. So trying to avoid things like that is.
Yes, these things have been around for a while. I remember a passage where Paul was telling Timothy to flee from lustful things and all that. So there's nothing new, actually. And I think society it's a bit more difficult now because of social media and all that, so the temptations are more, but it's nothing new. But in what specific ways do you think being a Christian helps in dealing with some of these challenges? I mean, how do you respond? Because they are real.
Good morning, church. May you specify the challenges?
No, he talked about the kind of challenges. He was very specific about the issue of physical lust and sex and all that. So I'm just asking, as a Christian, how do you try to navigate it?
Through discipline. I found that in the Word, most of the godly men and saints always disciplined their mind and their body, so that whenever they were in a situation that may trap them or lead them off from what they're doing, they'll have the wisdom to move away from it or run away from it, like Joseph did.
Okay. Thank you. That's very useful. Thank you. So, you're a mother of a son. Okay. How old is he?
24. He will be 24 next month.
24. May I observe that you're very well preserved? I had no idea. I'm shocked, yes. So we're talking about some of these issues, and I can imagine that they're familiar to you.
Yes,
How do you manage, when these things come up?
So first of all, we have a conversation.
Okay.
I think raising him up has made me to be open and be patient with him. So what I do is, if I notice anything, I just call his attention to it and we have a conversation. We address it. We don't sleep over issues. Issues must be addressed. And I think I'm one person that when I see the wrong, I pick it out immediately and we talk about it. I don't wait. I don't give him a breathing space. We just go all out like a military person. Oh yeah, this is it and this is wrong, this is right. Then I have also allowed him to have a mind of his own. Bring your ideas, then let's talk about it. So we talk about issues, we address it, then I give my 2 cents. Then we move on. So that's what I've been able to do over time.
You make it sound like a very smooth process, but I'm sure it's not.
It's not a smooth process because the person you're dealing with has a mind of his own. He has his own ideas. This is how I want to do it. So what I always remind him of, you don't have to follow the crowd. Do you and do what God says. So we always have that idea in the house that, is it the will of God? I have always ensured that I bring God first in whatever I'm doing with him. If he's not listening, we have people he listens to. So we take it up to either our pastor or our grandmother.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Pastor or grandmother, that's a very useful one. So let's not give the impression that being the mother or father of boys is just about challenges. I'm sure there are also joys as well. Can you talk about some of them? What makes you feel good when you see your sons or when they do something? What are the joys of being the father of sons?
The choices. It's not all. It's not a smooth road. Teenagers will be teenagers. I was a teenager once, and sometimes I say I think God is just paying me back for the the stress I gave my own parents. I mean, you wake up in the morning, go into their room, and the room is all untidy. The bathroom door is open. The bathroom is stinking. Can't you guys make your beds? Can't you guys flush your toilets and all that? And it's consistent. Virtually every day you have to be on their case. But one thing I will say, and that's to address something the young man said about peer pressure. It's basically peer pressure. As parents, the Bible says you train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. You start early to teach your child, just like she was saying, wrong from right. And you know very well that they're eventually going to go out into the world and they're going to meet all kinds of funny characters, even before they turn full adults. Like you were saying, it's like what they're being taught at home or in church is a total variance with what they are seeing out there. And all I would say to something like that is stay true to who you are. There's no shame in being an outlier. There's no shame in being disciplined. That look, we know this is wrong. I've discussed virtually everything with my sons, be it sex, be it drugs, be it everything, and we have a very open and frank discussion. My younger son is at that age where he's under a lot of peer pressure as well. Our role as parents is just to guide them. You can't force certain things down their throats at a certain age. You should have done this, or we should have done that much earlier, and pray. As parents, we just pray that the Holy Spirit will lead them right. I think there's something Pastor Wale says about it takes just one bad influence to destroy 15 years of home training or something. So we also pray against bad influences, but we also teach them to know what is right, what is wrong. It's frustrating. A simple thing like running a red traffic light in traffic here in Nigeria. And we are sitting there in the car. My son has just gotten his learner's permit, and we're sitting there in the car. And I tell him, never run a red light. Just wait it out. Even if everybody is driving past you and insulting you, just wait it out. Unless you are convinced that the light has a problem. Other than that, wait. And even when the light is green, don't speed into the intersection, because there's going to be one nutcase that doesn't care, that will just run his own red lights. So just be patient and do what is right. At the end of the day, our prayer is that everything would work out.
Thank you. I totally agree with you. There are people who know me now, and they think I'm something close to a perfect gentleman. But I remember coming back from primary school at 7 p.m. in Kano. I was quite a rascal. Climb trees, fight, play football, and then get home around 7 p.m. I can't imagine if my kids did that. But then there's also the transition, which is why what you said about prayer is so important. I had to go across the country to attend secondary school, and I just became a gentleman in the process. It could have gone the other way, but I believe it was the prayers of my parents. So I think the ultimate advantage, the ultimate edge that we have as Christians is that we're not limited by we're not limited by physical circumstances. We serve a God who is there for us, and the prayers count at the end of the day. Yeah. So let me talk to my sons as well. When we were discussing this session, I recall our president. I told him that even though I'm a father of daughters, I'm really interested in this as well, because somebody has to marry my daughters. So I'm very particular about young people, boys, and the challenges they face. So you've talked about physical challenges and all that, but one peculiar thing I hear about relationship among young people is that it's there's a lot of focus on money now. Young people tell you that, you can't, in our time you could go and buy groundnuts, or you could take a walk, but now I hear that you have to spend money. Is that a reality? Is that a challenge? That even if we talk about the relationships that are healthy, relationships that are up to, according to the biblical standards and all that, in terms of interaction between boys and girls, the money is a major factor now. Is it true? Or is it being exaggerated?
Well, in some cases, yes, it may be true. Like, it's always true for every generation. Someone's always chasing money because they think money will solve all their problems. And because of social media nowadays, it almost seems worse. Because now when you go to Instagram or go to TikTok or look down on your phone, you're seeing this guy, wow, he has a lot of money and he also has babes. And you're like, maybe if I do that too, I get the money and I throw away my morals, maybe I'll also get the same. Maybe I'll chase money instead of character and become someone who I'm not meant to be.
Okay, so you basically deal with it by remembering who you are in Christ.
Yes.
And where you're coming from. Yes, but do you have any examples of people around you? Because I also know that while we were growing up, there was this famous advert that said, "I'm drug and no be spirit." I also know that people who deal in drugs and all that, I also know spirits. So I've also come to know that drugs are really a thing now. In our time, the big deal was smoking cigarettes, but now you have drugs and stuff. So do you have friends who are in that space, and how do you avoid the temptations? Maybe he can take that.
Praise the Lord. Yes, I do. I have friends who we grew up together, and now they are either on weed, some steroids, some things that are not even healthy to their body. There was this day, it was, I think I came back from work that day and I was in a room with my friends because I don't stay with my parents. I stay alone. So I was in the room. I went to my friend's house, we were together, and before you know, from nowhere, they light one, which is weed. Out of nowhere. I don't even know where they brought it from. I thought that my group of friends, okay, we don't smoke, we don't do all that, but I was shocked when there's something they call puff and pass. One puff, pass. I was like, so bro, you guys, you smoke? They say yes, that is a normal thing. So it's like a normal thing now. That's one thing. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This Gen Z generation, there are some things that are normal now, like smoking weed.
I've actually had even among young people who are Christians, there's this fiction that weed is not bad.
Yeah, it's
That
from God.
cigarettes
It's
and all
natural.
that. But of course, it's also true, and this point has to be made. The World Health Organization is very clear that weed is a drug and that it's very dangerous. I think one of the things that people don't understand is that it's a process. You can take it now and it's like everything is fine. Where will you be in 10 years' time? And even the casual observation, we see people who take weed, after a while, they become very slow and all that. Yeah, so yes, it's a challenge. So how do you, well, you are not specific about whether you passed or not.
By the grace of God, I did not puff, I did not pass.
Fantastic.
Amen.
Well done.
So
Well done.
one thing you do, I always say this. I take Joseph's life as an example when you face temptation. If you can't face it head on, run away. Leave the room. If you don't want to go in, because it's addictive. When you start, you continue. So just leave the room, leave that area, leave that place. Distance yourself from them. Because if you continue being friends with them, they will still puff and they will still pass.
That is wisdom. I think you deserve a round of applause for that. You deserve a round of applause for that. Yeah. Thank you very much, and I'm really happy about the kind of answers we're getting. When we were conceptualizing this session, we said we wanted it to be very Christian, but also very practical, and not too preachy. So I'm happy about the insights. You want to say something?
Yes. Sorry, just concerning something you had raised. You were talking about the influence of money, the hustle, and then the influence of social media as well. You mentioned Instagram and I think TikTok and all that. When you see those kind of people displaying, wealth and the girls and everything, and I've had to talk to my sons about that as well. A lot of what you guys see on social media is not real. Let's settle that now, especially for the young people. A lot of it is not real. So we have to be very careful what you allow to influence you. I talk with a lot of young people, and there was a young lady I was talking with the other day. She said she's a TikToker or content creator or something, and very intelligent girl, and she said, well, one of the issues with their generation is they're not really ready to go through the process. They want the end product, they want the outcome almost immediately. And I can also understand why some of Gen Z think like that. I mean, they've grown up in an environment where it doesn't look like hard work pays. They've seen their parents working really hard, and at the end of the day, they have very little to show for it. And then they see all these probably corrupt politicians or crooked public servants, just living in wealth, and you know that this is not right. So all the virtues you've taught us about being honest and working hard, where did it get you? So I also understand where that comes from.
Yes.
But she harped on there has to be a process because she's a successful content creator. I think that's what she called herself. But she said it took her time. She had to build a following, and that the issue with her generation is the patience. You see somebody you started the same business with, and so all of a sudden they just blow. And you begin to wonder whether, are you doing the right thing? Maybe there's something wrong with you, and you can slide into depression. And that's where I'm going to. Everyone has their own time. Just run your own race. Be focused. She was very important about being focused. Just have your goals and stay focused. And don't be moved by what you are seeing around you. And remember, we're Christians. You know, we work with our faith. You know, and at the end of the day, just know that God is watching. And in due season, in due time, you will get your reward. But stay the course and stay true to
Thank you so much.
God.
Yeah, thank you so much. You, in the course of your contribution, you mentioned depression. And it's something that is real, even inside the Bible. When you read some of those Psalms, people talking about how God and all that, they're quite intense. So it's real, even among Christians. Is this something that you have some knowledge of in the course of being a mother? Depression?
Yes. Yes. It's real and it affects the Gen Zs. So what I notice is, for him, he's a bit withdrawn. He won't talk. Having his bath at that particular time becomes a problem. So I'll call him, what's your problem? Talk to me. Sometimes it's very difficult. But if there's anything I have done, I always go to God first. Why is this like this? God, help me. So I pray first, talk to God, then I'll not like, you're not talking, what's your problem? You're not eating, you're not talking the whole day. I'll become very worried. And eventually he comes out of it and he tells you what the problem is. There was one particular one, I was in church one day and I got a text message from him. My heart went out. I ran out. I tried calling him. He wasn't picking his call. Luckily for me, I met Brother Chubuzo and Brother Angel, and I showed them the text message he sent me. It was a very depressing text. It was about like, I'm tired, I want to go.
Oh, wow.
And Brother Chubuzo had to call. He doesn't have friends. I try as much as possible to monitor his friends, and when I don't like his friends, I talk to him about it. You're a child of God. You're not supposed to be with this kind of a person. Where are his parents? What are they doing? There was one particular one. I would fight him because of that boy. In fact, I don't want to see that boy close to him. And eventually, that boy was off. And we moved on to the next. So they had to I think they had to look for someone to reach out to him that day, talk to him, and went to Guaz to make sure he came out of that mood. So depression with them is real. And what causes depression? They are seeing their peers and they are seeing themselves. And they're asking themselves, why is my friend like this and why am I not like this? And the question is, why will you even look at somebody and want to be like that person? You should create your own path and go and let other people look at you and follow you. So depression for them is real because they always want to make it without going through the process.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
I will always advise, if you have a teenager, watch out for them. Talk to them. Let them go through the process. Money is good, but money is not everything.
Thank you. That's very useful. And what about when it gets to a point where you can no longer cope? I mean, I'm thinking aloud. Are there services in this country? Are there counselors? Are there all kinds of things and all that? What can you?
Okay, for me,
Yes.
it gets to that point I cannot cope. I bring in my pastors. And I will say IRCC has been amazing. I want to thank the pastors of this church. I don't know what I would have done without my pastors. Pastor Wally, Pastor Odwak, and Pastor Joel. They've always come to my aid. And I'm grateful that I am in this church with this young man. So for me, what I do, it gets to that point, I am breaking. I talk to my pastor. I have my mother. My mother is an amazing woman. In fact, I don't know what I would have done without my mother and my grandmother. Those two women, they are something else.
Praise
I just
God.
put a call across to them. Mommy, this is the problem. Have you spoken to your pastor about it? Yes, what are they doing? They've called him and we go through the process. And he comes out better every day.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, we've talked a bit about money earlier, but we've talked about the hustle part and the temptations and the social media false fictions and all that. But let's talk about the useful part of money, because our faith is not afraid of wealth, but it has to be done the right way. So as a parent, how do you start the process of defining godly wealth, defining the right approach, and start that process of inculcating healthy habits and thoughts around money and the process of getting money? Broke?
Okay, do I look like money? That's my first. But I'll come to that. I wanted to quickly address something that I think is important. She mentioned that she has a support system. She calls her pastors, she calls her mother or her grandmother. That's good. Men are not really wired that way. Men internalize stuff a lot. And this is Father's Day. We're discussing the men. So I just wanted to point that out, especially for the younger generation. I don't know whether it's that way by default, whether that's how God wired us, but I want to encourage the men, speak up. Speak up when you're going through stuff. Find someone, preferably someone godly, someone older, someone wiser, that can let you know that what you're going through, they've gone through it as well, and this is how they overcame it. We're talking about, I think what led to it was, we're talking about depression and stuff.
Support system, yes.
Men rarely talk about what they're going, they'd rather discuss business or discuss football. Okay, so find somebody, find a mentor. If you're ever going through stuff, find somebody that you can talk to. All right? And that's very important also for
That's
for your
excellent.
son.
That's excellent. Before you proceed, that's excellent advice. We need a support system. Do you have a support system? Yes, you start. Do you have a support system?
Yeah, I do. For example, my mentors in the Impact Church. My mentors are people I see them and I look up to them. The way they are, the way they behave, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, the way they educate us. I want to be someone that can be able to educate the younger generation when I'm there and I'm seeing my mentors do it and I'm like, yeah.
But your support system, does it include people of your generation? Do you have young people like you that you can talk with and be open with?
Yes.
As well, who are
For
Christians?
example, my friend Emmanuel is someone that, because we have the same interests, we love music, we talk about music. So that because of that, I can go and discuss other things with him, how I feel, what I'm going through, what I'm seeing, how can I go about it. So I have a friend that yes, I can go to and talk to, and he attends ILCC.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I suspect that being in that space of music and entertainment, you have special challenges, even more than the normal Gen Z challenges. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like, for example, this secular and being a secular artist or being a gospel artist, community, they will tell you straight up, say, gospel artists, they don't have money. They will tell you, because the community and most of the people, they see what other people are doing. For example, permission to mention names, people like Whiskey, Davido, and they see them touring the world, they see them flashing money, cars, and if they say if you are doing music and you are not living the way they are living, you are not really doing it.
I actually saw there's a debate on Twitter. I saw an event in what featured somebody called Gays Baba and also MI and all that. And some Christians were really not happy that they were mixing things up and all that. Is that part of the challenge that you face?
One of the things I've always have in mind is going out there to spread the word. Going out there, and if a Christian, if a gospel artist today wins a Grammy, people will talk. But to me, I find it amazing if you go there and mention Jesus in live television.
Fantastic.
You tell them Jesus is King.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. You want to say something about that as well? About the challenges in that space, music and all that. Even if you're not a musician, you must, that challenge of secular music and where you draw the line and all that is, what would you say about that?
Well, I think that people of our generation today are more on the consumatory mindset. They always want to consume. So they create stuff and music with no substance. It sounds good, it gets stuck in your head really quick. But for other artists like Cyril and other gospel songs, when you hear it, it sticks in your, not just your heart and your soul. You begin to lament and think over the things that you've done and how to be better, instead of just glorifying and gratifying yourself by just listening to music and going on and on about what greatness you can do instead of what greatness Jesus can do through you.
Thank you so much. Yes, to get back to the point about the legitimate, the Christian, the wholesome aspects of money and wealth and, you know, having the right material values. What have you done about that? What can you do about that?
Well, like I initially said, we teach our children the virtues of hard work. You know, savings. It's important to save.
Very important.
We try to get them to read books. There's a book recommended by my lighthouse leader. I think it was a Swiss Axiom. And I went through that book and I found out that the Swiss teach their children about stocks and shares at a very early age. Switzerland has one of the highest rate of millionaires, under 30 or something like that. They teach them this stuff very early. By 15, they're trading in stocks and shares. So I try and teach them a little bit about that stuff.
Deferred gratification and all that.
Yes. And of course, as a parent, I'm also mindful of transferring generational wealth. It's very important, you know. You're not just building wealth for yourself, but for generations to come. So I try and teach them to have that kind of mindset as well. Yeah.
When did you start them out on saving? Or have you started them out on saving?
Have I started them out on saving?
Yes.
Yes, well, I don't really monitor what they're doing.
Okay.
You know, but because right now they're not really earning an income per se.
Like a piggy bank and stuff like that.
Yes,
okay.
they both had piggy banks. I eventually became a physical wallet, and that doesn't work because I'm pretty sure he sneaks something out of it once in a while. But yes, we teach them about savings, about having a piggy bank, and all that. Yeah.
Fantastic. You want to say something about that as well?
Yes,
He's the mother of a young millionaire.
so for me, I started early. I'm opportune to work with a wet portfolio company. So I know
with a what?
Wet portfolio company. I work with Meristem Securities.
Please tell us more.
So Meristem is a company that helps you to grow wealth at the comfort of your house. So we are wealth managers. We help you manage your wealth advisors. So because I work there, I know the importance of savings. So what I did when he was 16, I opened a savings for him, a piggy vest for him. And from what I give to him as allowance, instead of giving him the full money, I give him part and I put part for him, which he has access to but cannot touch.
Fantastic.
So that was how it started.
Fantastic,
And
yes.
I knew when he was growing up, there was one day he asked me, who gets rich by saving money? And I'm like, try me. You will get rich. Just be saving little by little. And he had to. It was difficult because he wants to go there and take. But because I know I have the password to, if you take, I will know and we'll talk. We all want to fight. He was, oh, Mommy, I need money. Can I go there? I said, that is a savings. You don't go there. What about your upkeeps? That one finished. So first of all, what I did too, why we advised him to get a degree, we also asked him to get a skill. And he got his skill in photography. So photography pays. Sometimes he gets job. So when he gets his job, how much did you make? We'll discuss it. Okay, keep this. Use this. So that way he started saving. And I think he's doing well with the savings.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you seem to be doing a very good job. Well done. Yeah, so the first level is saving. I recall I've been hanging around some economists for a while. So there was a statement I saw somewhere that without saving, there's no investment. Without investment, there's no growth. So you are talking about saving, but also investment as well. But how do you move from saving to investment? I mean, do you have any ideas on that?
Okay, yes, you can move from savings to investment. So when you save your money, you watch it grow. Immediately it's growing, you can move it to mutual fund. Mutual fund, you can start as low as 10,000, and it's a pool of funds that gives you interest every day. So my own mentality is, if this money is in the bank, it doesn't yield interest. But in my mutual fund, it yields interest. I can also buy shares. But I, as a person, I'm not a high risk taker, so I'm afraid of always buying shares.
I can understand.
So because I'm not a high risk taker.
We were born in 2008. Yeah.
Because I'm not a high risk taker, I don't buy shares. So I just leave my money. Either I'm doing treasury bills or I'm doing mutual fund, or I'm doing safe tip, which I know that yields interest, and I can always roll over, and that's what I've taught him. So he has his mutual fund and he has his fixed deposits that yields interest, and he turns over and he keeps, and that way your money is growing.
Fantastic. He's a very lucky young man to be exposed to this level, and savings, mutual funds, treasury bills, and all that. I hope we're all taking notes. Google is our friend. Thank you so much. So I think we're making good progress, and talking about money and legitimate money. I know for your generation, hustle is a very important word. Although hustle, there's the positive part, there's also the negative part of hustling. So when it comes to making money the right way, I mean, for a musician, what are the options? Because I also know that wealth in music is exaggerated. Sometimes a lot of musicians, what you see is not what is actually happening. So in that space of music, there are those who are the frontliners, who are the singers that we know, people like Two-Face and Davido and all that. Then there are also the people behind, the producers and all kinds of people. And I have a friend whose son is interested in music, so he sent the son to Canada, but he told the son to learn about production as well, so that if his talent doesn't work out. So can you say a little bit about that space and the hustling beyond the glamour? Where is the money?
For music, you get money from streams, from royalties, shows. There are ways you can license your music. If they play your music, you get money. If someone uses your music or samples your music, you get paid. Or you perform your music, you get paid. So you get your music from streams, or maybe collaborations with other artists. They pay you to collab with them, royalties and all.
Yes, but you also, it's like an ecosystem. You are talking about the frontliners, the musicians and all that, but there are people behind. There are people who own the record labels.
Yeah, record label owners.
People who are the session men and all that. So is that not part of it as well?
Yeah, it's part of it.
Because their income stream might actually be more certain than the people who are in front.
We have the producers. For example, not just producers, we have the music directors also. For example, e.g. T.G. Omori is one of the biggest music video director in Nigeria. We also have producers like P Prime, Osei Cause, different. So those people, they get paid to produce music, you know. Apart from getting paid, they also get royalties from your music. There's an agreement. You sign an agreement. Is that either you're buying the beat or you're recording, and the producer is also getting part of the money that you're getting for streams, for performance and all, playing your music in TV stations, radio stations, and all.
Yeah, so how is this knowledge helping you to position yourself in that space outside just performance?
One thing I've learned is don't just be a musician. Go further. Be able to produce your music. Be able to publish your music yourself so that you can gather your money. So you don't share your money, because producers will collect royalty, record label will collect their own.
Wow.
There are agreements. So and one thing that is trending now for us musicians is being an independent artist. That you're not under any record label. All your money, your royalties is coming to you. So you have to go further. You have to learn the trade of music, learn production, be able to use your tripod, use your iPhone to create content for yourself and put out there.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's very useful. Thank you so much. I'm happy that we're having that deeper conversation, because when it comes to entertainment, there's a tendency to focus on people who are in front. But a lot is happening behind. The stars come and go, but some people are producing them. You know, they're producing new stars and all that. Yeah, so I'm happy about that. So thank you so much, and it's going quite well. There's a question that you didn't fully answer, and maybe I should also refer you. What are the joys of having a son? What are those moments? Because life is made up of moments, you know, and someone said that the more joy you have in moments, the happier the life you have. But what are the moments that you just look at them? You know, remember what they call that famous film, The Lion King and all that. Even lions, when they look at their children.
The joyful moments, from the minute I held my son at birth, it hasn't stopped. I am one of those fathers that I loved carrying my son on my neck, you know, just taking my boys around, teaching them how to drive. I'm just a very hands-on dad. It's something I enjoy doing, and I also realize that it's a privilege, you know, to be a parent, to be a father.
It is.
Something there was something that stood out to me recently. My son is studying architecture in the university, and they were given this list of items to purchase at the beginning of the term. And there was some confusion initially because it was a long list, and they needed to prioritize, and expensive, prioritize which ones to get. And there was that confusion. So he had a classmate whose father was an architect. So we asked, why don't you just talk to her and ask her to ask her father if he could give advice or recommend what they'd need. And her response, very profound, she said, he's not that kind of father. And that shook me to my core, you know, because she explained that her father isn't the kind of person you can talk to. So obviously she doesn't share any emotional bond with her father. And I use that to emphasize to my sons that, look here, it's your right, yes, to have your parents look out for you, but it's also a privilege to have parents that look out for you. And I want to urge parents, I'm not preaching, I'm not being patronizing anything. Be a hands-on parent. Be a hands-on, especially the fathers, because that's going to bring me to something else I was hoping would address we're talking about the Gen Zs. There's a demographic I'm not really seeing here, the late 20s to the early 40s. I remember this fellow was on one of our programs the other day, and we were talking about guy-girl relationships. We mentioned it slightly here about girls being out for money. You hearing about girls being out for money, and the guys are receiving a lot of buzzwords all over the place. I talk to a lot of young people,
Yes.
and for the young ladies, they're like, this generation of men, forget it. They're just not this, they're just not that. And I keep wondering, where's the disconnect? You know, where's it? What's going on? Because I'm mentoring my sons. My son went on his first date. I recorded it. I was so excited. I told him what to do, what not to do, and they went to watch. It was a movie date, you know. And when I dropped him off at the cinemas, I met the young girl's mom. The mom was acting as a chaperone, so she was going to be there with them. She would leave them to go and watch the movie, but she was hanging around, so they're fully aware that mom is around, you know. But they behaved themselves, and at the end of the day, the mom commended my son that he's such a well-behaved young man. I was like, hey, wait until they're alone. If you still share that. But the confidence I have is that even when I'm not there, I've trained my sons to be gentlemen, to know how to talk to a lady and know how to treat a lady, because that's another thing that seems to be lacking. When you hear the stories, there's some stories that just break my heart from the females, and then the guys have their own too, and I think some of them are pretty valid, you know. So I was hoping we'd touch on that, the emotional aspect, because God wants us to raise godly families, have godly offspring, and if we are not marrying, what's all this baby mama thing? You know, it's not. Now, I know that there's circumstances, I'm very aware of that, but I think God's ideal is for a family, a husband and a wife, to have godly children.
Thank you for, you've already started touching it, and that's, I'm happy that you're doing that, because this session is actually, if you like, a freewheeling one, and it's a reality that these things happen. But there's also a sense, I know, that that the boy child is being almost neglected in favor of the girl child. You know, there's that sense, you know, and it's something that I've observed, you know, as a father of daughters as well. When I was much younger, you know, in school and all that, you're in a typical class. Of course, the hottest people are usually the boys. The girls, there are a few bright girls, you know, but generally the guys are holding. But then you check law school results, you check JAM results and all that, and you see that the women, in many university departments, you know, pharmacy especially, and you know, law, you see the girls are doing much better, you know. And I wonder why.
Even in church attendance, the women outweigh the men.
Yes. I wonder why that is so and what can be done about it. Because, thank you. Because I think that we cannot have a dysfunction, even in church, we should not have a dysfunctional society, you know, or community where you have girls who are doing relatively better and then the boys are struggling. It's not scriptural. It's not right, you know. Even as a father of daughters, I don't like that quote an advantage. But what's the cause of this problem and what can be done about it?
I think it just brings us back to the mentoring, the role that the fathers play. Unfortunately, you can't teach something that you don't have. So if our fathers didn't train us or teach us how to be, what the role of the head means, it's difficult for you to pass that on to your sons. And that's where I think the role of mentoring comes in. For the young men, if you notice that your father was deficient in a particular area, nothing stops you from seeking out someone you think can complement your father's deficiencies. You look for someone that you think can mentor you in a particular area. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, I've just been informed that our formal time for this part of the session is up. We are looking forward to questions. This is a conversation that is supposed to involve all of us. So, questions? Okay, someone has his hand up there. Please give him the mic. Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm wondering what's the place of risk taking and public perception, particularly as regards our young the Gen Zs and recently I had the opportunity of interacting with a young person who had the same kind of hairdo for a guy. When we were growing up, this kind of hairdo will be for the riffraffs. Then this is somebody that is not really particularly interested in sport or entertainment, wants to be a corporate person. At that point in time, he's looking to get a job maybe in the bank. The banks are not looking at him and saying, sorry, there's no place for someone with this kind of outlook. It's someone that is, didn't see anything wrong with Igbo, which we've touched on. Felt that, you guys have really exaggerated the impact of smoking hemp. That is such a nice thing, a good feeling, makes you relax, makes you sleep well. So really, what you guys, and I don't really have anything to say because one, I've never tasted it before. In my cycle of friends when I was growing up, I don't even know if there is anybody at all who was bold enough to even get close to it. And what I was made to understand that even ladies do it now. So I'm wondering, at a time I was your age, today I'm here, and very soon you're going to be like me. So what is the kind of risk you are willing to take now? And how do you think this could have an impact on your future? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. What I want to say very briefly is that when you are not sure about what to do, you go back to the fundamentals. There's a reason we're here. This is a Christian community. And God is the same, Jesus is the same today, yesterday, and forever. So we have to go back to the fundamentals and ask ourselves, what will Jesus do? What does the Bible say is the right thing? Because that opinion that weed is safe, it's actually from the pit of hell. It is not scientifically valid. It's not just a moral point here. It's not scientifically valid. It's documented and established through research that when you abuse weed over time, basically, to put it in very crude terms, part of your brain is dying. So it's not true that it's such a wonderful thing. So we have to go back to the science. We have to go back, but ultimately to the Bible. Please, you want something to say?
Okay, true confession. I used to smoke weed. Okay, I shared my testimony on, I think, the 700 Club or on Turning Point.
That's true. That's true.
I used to be a weed smoker. So I can speak from experience. The one thing that weed will tell you is that, don't worry, everything is going to be all right. And it's a lie. And that's how you keep not worrying, you keep not making progress, you keep chilling, until one day you wake up and you're 40 years old and you're not making the progress you should make. All right?
Yes.
So weed is not good for you. Emotionally, psychologically, or physically. It is not. Health-wise, physically, that's what I meant. Health-wise, it is not good for you. So let's get that out of the way. Do not do drugs.
Fantastic.
From somebody who has been there.
Fantastic.
Do not do drugs. It will delay and in some cases end you. You don't want to do that. I think the question he was asking was actually directed at you guys. All right? So maybe you want to handle that.
Yes.
Praise the Lord. He said something about the hair, the braids. Back then, people that keep braids or long hair, well, people that they look at them as mischiefs, smokers, troublemakers. If you're not a footballer or an artist, you can't keep your head this way. And one thing I want to say is times are changing. Times have changed. Your generation is not this generation. Even in the Bible, we had the time of Moses, and when Jesus came, they were like, "No, you can't do this. You can't. You are going against the law of Moses. You are going against this. You are going against that." So I want to tell you that times have changed. Times have changed. If I'm like this, I'm not a riffraff or a bad boy. I'm an artist, and I'm showing it. I'm being different. In this place, everybody's on, but me and my brother here, we're on our braids. When we enter the room, we draw attention. I've gone to different places where when I enter the room, people are looking at me. They're being like, "Yeah, now gotta be that." So times have changed.
Times have changed. Times have changed, and we have to. It's a difficult conversation to have because if you're an older person, you grew up in a certain. Okay, hold on. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to talk about boys to men and in this generation. I know we touched a little bit about it.
Okay,
from
just try to
Sister
make it a
Ita.
bit short. We have a lot of
So going back to
questions.
parents and making boys to men, I think one thing we're forgetting is that we always focus on education in this point, in this generation. As parents, we're thinking about, we have to give our kids the best education. Sometimes we need to plus with education for them to grow from being boys to men. And I think one thing we're missing is skill acquisition. So as we're building boys to men, we're providing education to them. We also need to learn to provide skill. Even as a mother, I think that's also one regret. If I have to reparent again, I think one thing I forgot was giving my son a skill acquisition. So looking at people that are making money now, trust me, it's not education that is giving them the money, it's the skill that they have that is giving them the money. So we need to learn to combine both together
Thank
so
you
they
so
can go
much.
from boys to men.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we've also received a lot of questions, and I think we should quickly go through them. I'll just read them, and then we can just talk through them. Because we don't have enough time. So somebody said, it feels like we are so focused on entertainment, social media, and less on physics, biology, and maths. These are skills that young men should have. Physics, biology, and maths are skills. Okay, maybe there's some, well, I get the point that, entertainment is a good thing, and there's a lot of money there and all that, but the reality is that most people will never be entertainers. So what I'm taking from this is that please be serious with school, work hard, try to get good grades and all that, because some of us, when I look at my life, the best thing that ever happened to me was that God blessed me with brains and I was able to work hard. That's my secret. And I suspect that as glamorous as entertainment is, that old and conventional strategy of going to school, being serious, learning, working hard is still very important. So please don't think that because of entertainment, you should not be serious with your book work. Thank you. So we also have another question that said, how can we educate our younger generation on the effect of illicit sex? They do sex things at very tender age. Can you say something about that, please? Yes.
Okay, first of all, as a mother or as a father, know your child and the person he's dating. I think my son has a girlfriend, and I know he has a girlfriend. And I have addressed it. So while he was 16, I knew he was going to have a girlfriend one day. So I have been prepared. So we keep talking about sex education. It is one thing the men don't like to hear, but you just have to make it a must. So we talk about it. I would jokingly tell him, if you impregnate a girl, I will abandon you. You will be on your own. I will help you take the baby, but you see you and that girl, you will figure it out. So I always make it a Simon. Please, you are a child of God. Don't misbehave. And when he had his girlfriend, he told me, Mommy, I want to bring somebody for you to see. And that was towards his end of his university. And I said, okay, let's see. And I saw the girl. I liked her. And I have been there advising and doing the needful to make sure that there is no mistakes. So that's what I can do.
That's useful. Thank you. We have so many questions. I don't even know how we're going to cope, but let's move very quickly. Oh, someone has a question. Okay, please make it.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, the panel. I think we're all here to learn, and we're gaining. I just joined a firm that is very Gen Z, is very agile, and there's a lot of Gen Z, so there's so much to learn. Is that okay? You said something, on the issue of the boy child being neglected. You raised that, the moderator, and then you talked about it. Yes. I want to quickly contribute to that. Yeah, there's also the fact that, in the past, in society, there was a lot of focus on the male child. And, the female child was also neglected. And I think it's even indicative in certain parts of Nigeria as well till now. So there have been conscious interventions, legislations, and all sorts to ensure that, the female child or women essentially are empowered. So the risk with that is that, there's been a lack of monitoring as regards what it has done to society, because now it's like we've turned it on its head. That's the reality, painful reality, but we seem to have turned even the laws, especially in the West, you find that they are more, women focused, you understand? So maybe what we can do as a society is try to create balance and see how we can also strengthen the laws, create balance, because we want to empower women, but you do not want to disempower men in the process. So that's something you want to look at. So that's on the one hand. And then this is just for the panel. It'd be nice to hear about the Gen Z dilemma when it comes to masculinity versus being sensitive. Because it does seem like a lot of the Gen Z people, I'm seeing that in the firm that I'm with, they are really, the men are very into their feelings. Meanwhile, those of us that are somewhat dinosaurs, stoicism was a thing for us, you understand? And that's why we internalize things, we try to master our feelings and all that. It does have its demerits, but the reality is that when you look on the flip side, a lot of these young people are also very into their feelings, and we're also worried about raising men that are kind of weak. My thoughts.
Thank you. Those are very thought-provoking questions. Okay, please.
Good morning, church. I'm a mother. I have 3 boys, so I speak on the men side. I think going back to school, because in schools these days, they're teaching your physics, chemistry, and maths. I'm a geologist, so I'm in that space. But I also find the schools are not actually doing emotional intelligence and the skills you need to equip these Gen Zs for the world. For me, I wish I could go back to the drawing board for education. They would change the curriculum. We're not talking physics, Newton, David, and Amoeba. Children should know accounting, how to save, bookkeeping. Children should know how to show emotional intelligence, how to be confident children. Those are what the children should go for now. With my 3 boys, I mean, 2 of them have come to church, and the way I've tried to raise them, I've told them about confidence. That is key. A confident child, no matter where you are, you will show forth your star, you will show forth your talents. And for me, I have a few nephews that are into football. They're doing well. So for me, I think as parents, we should look at what talent each individual child has and nurture that talent. It shouldn't be about, sorry, I'm going back to the chemistry, the physics, biology. It should be about, okay, I have a child that is a football academy. Let's nurture that. Yes, it's not going to put food so much on the table, but guess what? It's going to make them to a certain space. They will look at their talent, they will nurture their passion, and then with that, they could probably go into real estate with their money, like all these Kanu, Mikel. They have money and they're doing pretty well. So, as a mother of 3 boys, I believe I have local standing to say that We as parents, we should try as much as possible to nurture our children in the way the world is. Now, the world is being confident, being good to yourself, and being good human beings. I'm particular about humanity. So we need to children, our male children, to be kind. It's not about to, and also he said, the weakness, sensitivity. Please, there is no sensitive man. You have to show, if you're crying, do cry. There's no harm in crying. There's no harm in anything. Show your emotions. There is no big man. There is no big boss. We're all
Thank you
who
so
we
much.
are. That's
Thank you
my
so
own
much.
opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, another thought-provoking, another very thought-provoking contribution. Let me say a few words before I think we should take some. Sorry, I think we should take some questions before we have quite a few of them, a bunch of them here. So there's one that's it's quite disquieting. It says, "How do you prevent your Gen Z children from homosexuality, from older perverts and other gays/lesbians?" This one is quite heavy. I mean, but of course we've talked about sex generally. I think it's the same principles. What is wrong, and as Christians, we have to be sensitive to those things, and where necessary, you can do what Joseph did, which is not to be in certain spaces. But this is also a specialized question, so I don't know if we can say anything about that. I mean, how prevalent is this? Some of us are no longer. Yes.
I think it's, well, okay, I can only speak from experiences I have had, and because it's a topic that's not really much discussed in church or by society, a lot of it is kept underground, but a pastor would know that things like this do happen. The first thing I would say is that God hates the sin of homosexuality. But I also know that God doesn't hate the sinner. And he wants his love for you to draw you to repentance. That's one side of it. God's love extends over everyone. The rain falls on you, whether you're good or bad. Now, like you said, it's a specialized topic. For somebody who is at risk of that, you need to get out of that environment and get help. You need to talk to someone. I was recently approached by someone in that situation, but he was more mature. He was older, and he had the means to, but things like this need special attention. So it's not something I would want to go into in depth here. Try and remove yourself from the situation, from that environment, and get help.
Thank you so much. Someone has a question, please. Please give him the mic. The gentleman over there. Yes, he's been raising his hand for a while. Behind. Yes. We have quite a few questions, and we can't do justice to all of them. We have to round up. So I think what we'll do is to collate the questions and look at them within the context of the male of our the community of men, this thing, and come up with some kind of feedback later. But they are very useful. People are talking about sensitivity, talking about what about the people who already are having problems. What do you do about them? They're useful, but we have to look at them in detail later. Yeah, please proceed.
Good morning, church. I'm not only just a father; I'm a grandfather. My two sons are 39 and 36.
Wow.
Listening to the conversation this morning, I think firstly I need to applaud this church because this is education. The church has spent too much time on sin consciousness. But what is the application? Don't have sex. So bloody what? There are consequences for having premarital sex, for instance, from HIV to God knows what. And so this kind of discussion should really, not be a once in a time, discussion when, you just go through, you just rush through. There are societal issues. Deal with them. Spend time, because these are the things that manifest every day. For instance, I listened to the young man talking about, making money. Somebody raised the issue about Sweden, how they teach their children financial education. Do you teach financial education? If you don't teach financial education, making money, you'll be broke. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Tyson made $100 million, but he still got broke because he did not have financial education. It's that simple. If you don't know a thing, don't blame God, don't blame the devil. Your knowledge is inadequate. And this whole concept about, education. Somebody is talented as a footballer. Does he understand that his shelf life as a footballer is limited? Therefore, he needs to know the business part of football. If you're a musician and you don't know the showbiz part, those people behind will make the money. You will just be in front. When Michael Jackson died, he was broke. Yeah. Ben Bruce started promoting music in the 80s. He brought people like Shalama, Kool and the Gang, and all those people. But Ben Bruce did not stop at just bringing these people. He has gone through the whole, chain of business. So if you are in any kind of engagement, do you know how long you are going to be in that, your shelf life? That's why, for instance, today you see a lot of people, they are retired, they had very big offices, but they are broke. Did they invest? They did not invest. So our concept of education, is like the woman said, we need to rethink what is meant by education.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let me just make this point. They told Henry Ford that he was not educated. Henry Ford said he's not using his brain to store facts. He has 16 buttons on his desk. If he wants any information, he knows who to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been...
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very conscious that we've sort of run out of time, but
Yes,
the purpose of this really was to get the conversation started. Like you said, we can't finish it today, but clearly there's a need to deepen this discussion. And I'm going to discuss with Pastor Uduak. I think there's a mother and father engagement that is going to be required. We need to work together. Sometimes you find out that the direction the mother is taking can be slightly different from the direction the man is taking. Not that they're divergent. The approaches, absolutely. The approaches can be different. So maybe there's something around, because bringing up male children is a very critical complement of education in society.
It is.
So I think as a church, we need to work on bringing that together. I think also with the group, the younger group, we'll need to find a way to engage as well subsequently to understand the expectations of young guys from their fathers. How can we be friends? How can I be your trusted partner? So you can talk to me, you can ask questions and so on. So these are some of the follow-on conversations that I think we should have after today. And I'm very pleased because some of the comments we received today were things we observed from yesterday's movie as well. You know, the role of prayer, right? Because regardless of what you do, you really need a war machine.
Room, yes.
Yeah, basically, of prayers bringing up the issues are so complex. It's not quite as easy. So I think that's it. But also the way the men need men, and that's one thing we found out yesterday. You know, and we sort of committed to sort of mentoring ourselves because sometimes, I mean, I don't necessarily have to be the mentor for my son on a particular subject. It could be brother, okay, will be the best person or something. So there's something around mentoring between men and men to bridge this gap. This is clearly a very, very important subject, and we're very pleased that this is happening. And I think the greater part of it is what we do after now to deepen the conversation. So I just wanted to bring those comments in terms of what we as a few good men intend to do going forward out of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. I mean, thank you for the reminder. I also recall that part of what we discussed was that we want to actually have some kind of volunteer program for men so that we can adopt younger men, have some kind of consistent relationship with them and be able to guide them as much as possible. Because some of us have been through this issue, some of us have experience, and they said it's better to learn from the experience of some other person than to have the experience. Yeah, so we will certainly reach out. Yeah, a final question. Somebody who's been who's been waiting for a while. Final question.
My question, I want to speak on the aspect of income as a young man. So if you look at the total of every Nigerian young man here, we are into fraud.
Into?
Fraud.
Fraud?
Yes.
Okay.
Two-thirds of Nigerian young men into fraud, and I want us to emphasize on the place of fraud and hard work. Because if you look for a shirt, to get a shirt now, you'll be hearing 50K. And as an hard-working person, you know you don't earn up to 50K, but the society has already programmed the cost of wares for the standard of Yahoo boys. So what's the place of hard-working boy who is working hard to get a living and a fraudster? Because at the end of the day, if I can't afford that money, I will have to go into fraud to afford it. So what's the place of the church helping hard-working people to earn more so that they can meet up with their daily activities and living?
Thank you. I think that's a very relevant question because you have people trying to do the right things, work hard, young people and all that, but the challenges are great. So what can we do about that? It's a good question. Maybe our president can weigh in again. Okay, somebody wants to respond. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a very valid question and a practical one for that. What I have done basically is, I've got a variety of friends, and when my sons are around, I make sure that I expose them to a wide range of options and optionalities. So I've got friends who have been very successful, right? They've done business and they're doing very well. If you want somebody who drives a Rolls Royce, you can go. You see that it's possible to do the right thing slowly, steadily, and be successful. And I think the idea as fathers basically is to show the optionalities that are there. Expose them to a wide range of options, basically, but also teach them the means. I mean, if a shirt costs 50 naira, clearly somebody can afford 50 naira. So what does it take to be able to afford 50 naira? So, I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Sorry, yeah, I'm 50,000 naira, yeah. What I'm saying is, so when I'm talking to them, you have to create boys who are able to survive and dominate a society in which they live and are not victims of that society. You see? And so part of what's required to do that, the education you have, the exposures you have, and all sorts of things will give you the tools to be able to earn the living that is expected for you. And if you're not at that point yet where you can afford 50,000 naira, clearly there must be 10,000 naira shed somewhere, right, that you can afford. And so it's really about calibrating where you are, but also aspiring to the next level, right? And giving the exposure that those options are there for a young man.
Thank you so much. I think that was the final question.
Can I just
Pastor,
say,
yes.
maybe Pastor Oduak, she's been dying to talk. Yeah, so for me, I just think that, and Doctor actually said that, and when he started saying he has friends, some of them have Rolls Royce and all of that, I would like to be your son so that I can see. But then there are people that, I think some of these things may be from, so it's one thing to grow up in the home of somebody like Dr. Ege. What if I'm growing up in a place where my father has 7 children and we live in the outskirts, we are all in one room? We never could afford shawarma, we never could do any of those things. How do you tell such a boy, such a child, that you don't go into fraud or some of the things he talked about? I think one of the first things we must learn to teach our children, no matter how poor you are, that it is not a curse. That you must first begin like that in itself, it is not a curse. It's not like you have offended God, you are going to hell because you are poor and all of that. Because if you also let them know that life has been unfair, I can't believe, and that is the message you pass across to them, that's when that desperation, unnecessary desperation, comes. Let them know that despite that, it's not the ideal place to be, like Doctor said, aspire, but let them still find reasons to thank God that we may be living in a room, but have you seen families that have been married? They can afford it. They've been married for 15 years. They couldn't have a child. God has given us 6 children. Let us thank God for that. Let's thank God that all through this year, none of you has been to the hospital. Let them begin to learn the balance that nobody is at a point where they are totally at a loss. So then teach them contentment. And then, yes, and I think Doctor also mentioned that. And you can get a 10,000. There was a time that my shirt, when the collar was one, you turn it and put it the other way, and go to the bend down market and buy stuff, so there is that season in life, and like I always say, if it doesn't happen on time, it doesn't stop it from happening with time. It will still happen with time. So just enjoy your ride where you are on your way to where you believe God is taking you to. Praise God. And ultimately, money can't buy you joy. That definition, that identity you are looking for in money, when you have it, you sat with some rich people, and like one popular soap opera said, the rich also cry. The rich also cry. So you must enjoy where you are, be happy, be satisfied, and little by little. We've heard about the virtues of savings. Little by little, you will get there. And if you don't get there, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that your quality of your life will drop. So just breathe easy. Praise God.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you so much. So we're going to round up right now, but let me just make one final point. Ultimately, these things come back to self-esteem. Self-esteem. Because you're going to be in life, you confront situations where you don't have what you want. You confront situations where you meet people who have so much more than what you have. You go to social media, you see all these things. But your self-esteem has to be anchored on something. And as Christians, our primary source of self-esteem and value should be the fact that we're Christians and that we have Christ. I'm saying that because ultimately you can't, that's why life is what it is. You can't run away from situations that will remind you that there are things you don't have and all that, When I think about my life, for instance, I wonder what gave me confidence at certain points of my life. when I went to secondary school, I was sitting next with people whose parents were vice presidents and whatever and all that. But I just had this basic confidence that I had something to offer. In fact, I remember the day I walked into secondary school and I saw these kids looking so prosperous, and I said, let's meet in class. Let's meet in class, you know. I had that basic self-confidence that I had value as a person. And I think part of it, which brings us back to where we are today, was that I had a father who was a very loving person, you know. And there's something, the Bible says that the greatest is love. Love is patient, love is kind, you know. Sometimes as parents, we think that, we want to do everything for our children, but we don't understand the value of just that child knowing that you love him or you love her. It goes a long way. So let us also not, as parents, when we cannot meet up with certain responsibilities or certain payments or whatever, let's remind ourselves that we have something which the Bible says is the greatest, and that's the love we have for our children. So, bottom line is, we're Christians, and the answer must come from the Bible. The Word of God will never expire. It will never be irrelevant. You know, so as we navigate these societal challenges and all that, let us remember the advantage we have. Somebody can have more money than you. Somebody can have that car. Somebody can have the babes and all that. But if that person doesn't have Christ, how is he superior to you? Ultimately. Yeah. So you have to keep going back to the fundamentals. And the fundamental thing is that you have a God who loves you, who has your back, and that he's taking you to somewhere good, even if the present is not perfect. Thank you very much.